welcome back to my channel. Today I have another video in my back to school series. If you guys saw my video from last week, that one was all about easy breakfast ideas, but this week we are tackling snacks. So again, I'm collabing with some really awesome ladies. We have Kayla from the Modern Millennial, we have Vanessa from Vanessa White Randomness, and we also have Julia Pacheco. So I'm gonna have all of those ladies linked down below. You're going to love all of them. They make really, really awesome content. So I have tons and tons of super easy snack ideas for you guys, and they're all pretty healthy. I tried to stick with very healthy options this time around, so I think you guys are gonna love these for back to school. If you guys are coming over from any of their channels, I just want to say welcome. My name is Caitlin. I post what's for dinner videos every single Sunday, grocery hauls, meal prep, all kinds of food related content. So if that is something that you are interested in, definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and let's go ahead and get into all of these snacks. All right, I'm starting off with our family favorite. This is a healthy blueberry donut recipe, super, super delicious. So into my mixing bowl, I'm adding in all of my dry ingredients. So I do about 3/4 cup of wheat flour and then about 1/2 cup of regular all-purpose flour. I'm also adding in 1/4 cup of sugar, as well as 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And you're also going to need about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then you're just gonna whisk all of this together. Now is the time to add in the wet ingredients. So I have 1 egg, I'm adding in 1/2 cup of regular milk, as well as about 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I'm just gonna get all of this mixed together before adding in my oil. Now for the oil in this recipe, I'm using about 2 tablespoons of coconut oil that I melted in the microwave. I'm sure you could also use butter or some other type of oil, but I am using the coconut oil and it did turn out really, really good. Get all of that mixed together and that's it for the batter. Then you're just gonna add in your fresh blueberries. I would say I used about 3/4 of a cup. The recipe said either 1/2 cup to 1 cup, and so I did right in the middle with about 3/4 of a cup. So to make these donuts just a little bit healthier, we're actually going to be baking them instead of frying them, which is a much healthier alternative. So I just have this donut pan. You can find it off of Amazon. It is the Wilton brand. I can try and find it and link it for you guys down below. It was actually a gift, but I'm just spooning this batter right into the pan. You do want to make sure that you don't have the batter covering the hole, otherwise it's not actually gonna look like a donut. It really is not hard to do this at all. You could also throw the batter in a piping bag if you wanted, but I just chose to spoon it right into there and it worked out just fine. These donuts are gonna bake in a 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes or so until they are fully baked through. Now moving on to the glaze, I just kind of eyeballed it, but the recipe actually called for 2 cups of powdered sugar to about 1/4 cup of water. And I did also add a little bit of lemon in there because I love the flavor of lemon and blueberry together, and it was super, super delicious. So as you can see, I totally just eyeballed it, the ratio of the powdered sugar and the water. It turned out totally fine, but I will have this whole recipe linked down below if you guys want to follow the full recipe. Once those donuts came out of the oven, I did let them cool for a few minutes because I didn't want the glaze to melt right off. But you're basically just going to pull the donuts out of the pan into the glaze, and then you're gonna throw them onto a cooling rack, and they're gonna need some time to cool and for that glaze to set. I would say let mine sit for about 20 minutes until that glaze got nice and hardened on there. But these were so, so good, you guys. Honestly, one of my favorite healthy alternatives for a little treat. My kids devoured these. So this recipe made 6 of them and they were gone within the hour. They were seriously super, super delicious. Definitely recommend trying out this recipe. This is definitely one you're gonna want to give a try. Next up, I am making some blueberry yogurt bites. These were super delicious and my son really enjoyed them. So I am just starting off with some Greek vanilla yogurt. Nothing fancy or special about this. It is just the Great Value brand. So definitely go with a nice budget-friendly yogurt on this one. You don't need anything fancy at all. I'm just spooning that into a bowl, and then we're heading over here to my pan. So to my pan, I'm adding a little bit of wax paper. This is just going to help so nothing sticks. These are actually going to go into the freezer, so you definitely want to make sure to line your baking sheet. And then all you've got to do is take your washed blueberries. These are fresh blueberries, and I'm just dipping them right into the yogurt and then throwing them right onto my pan with that wax paper. So this is a little bit tedious. It takes a little bit of time, but honestly so worth it. These turn into such a delicious treat. These would be perfect for after school if your kids are craving something sweet when they get off the bus or you pick them up. This is a really great option that you can just have in your freezer, pull them out, and it's a great treat for them. So I ended up throwing these into my freezer for probably just a couple of hours. A little bit later in the evening, I went ahead and just removed them and put them into a little Tupperware container. So this is what they all ended up looking like. As you can tell, they're all just frozen and delicious. Perfect little treat while it's still warm outside. We absolutely love these. So I just threw them into a little storage container and then tossed them right back into my freezer. And this has been such a great treat for when my son wants some sort of candy or chocolate. I will just give him a handful of these and he absolutely loves them. He thinks he's getting quite a little treat. So I think you guys should definitely try this one out for your kids. Next up, I am making some roasted cinnamon and sugar chickpeas. If you guys have been around on my channel, you probably know that we absolutely love these in our house. So I am making a different version today to share with you all. So I'm just starting off with 1 can of garbanzo beans and getting those drained off. And then I'm going to be adding them to a clean towel and drying them off even more. You want to make sure that these are really nice and dry so that they get really nice and crispy in the oven. Once those are good and dried off, go ahead and add them into a bowl where you're going to be mixing up all of your ingredients. So for my oil this time, I am using 1 tablespoon of olive oil and giving that a really good toss. And then for the seasonings here, I have 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Go ahead and add a little bit more or less, but I think about 1 teaspoon is about right for this one. And then I'm also adding in a couple teaspoons of just regular granulated sugar. I do like to add on a little bit more at the end of this recipe, but I think this is about right for starters. You can line your baking sheet if you'd like, but I usually just spray mine with a little bit of oil and that turns out just fine. Then you're just gonna toss your chickpeas right on there. Make sure you do have them spread out really well because you don't want all of them touching. You want them to bake nice and even. Throw these into a 400-degree oven for about like 20 to 30 minutes. You're definitely going to want to take them out about halfway through. Give them a quick toss. You'll know that they are done when they are nice and crunchy and crispy. You definitely want to make sure that they get nice and crispy. Just watch them close so they don't burn. But I definitely like ours very, very crispy. So this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. Super nice and crispy and delicious, just like a chip. And this is where I like to add on a little bit of extra sugar for these ones. I just think it makes them taste so good and such a nice little sweet treat. So this is the cinnamon and sugar chickpea recipe. Next up, I am making some zucchini chips in my dehydrator. So a few weeks ago in one of my meal prep videos, I actually made some zucchini chips in my oven and they were super delicious and flavorful, but they weren't super crispy. So I wanted to try making a similar variation in my dehydrator instead and see how that compared as far as crisping them up. So I'm just starting off with some zucchini from my garden. We have so much zucchini to use. I'm cutting these into about a 1/4 inch pieces choices. You do want to keep them pretty thick considering they're actually going in a dehydrator. They're going to lose all of that liquid, so you definitely want them to be about 1/4 of an inch for the dehydrator ones. So I'm just drizzling them with a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm adding in tons of seasoning, lots of sea salt, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, lots of salt and pepper. Go ahead and just season these to taste, see what your family likes. You could also add ranch seasoning here if you wanted to try a ranch version. That would be really delicious, but we really liked this variety of seasonings on there. Go ahead, mix it all together, see what you think, and add a little bit more if you like. And then that's it for the prep work for these. Super simple to actually throw together. Now this is the dehydrator that we have. It's the LEM brand. It works really great. We've had it for quite a few years now and we really enjoy using it for dehydrating our fruits and vegetables. It works fabulous. So I'm just laying these right onto the baking sheets, and then I dehydrated ours for probably a good 12 hours or so. You just want to make sure that they are super dry. You don't want any of the moisture left in there, or they're not going to actually be crispy, and they're not going to last as long if they have that moisture in them. So once you have them dehydrated really well, then you're able to just pull them out and throw them right into a little storage container, and these can be left at room temperature as long as they're fully dehydrated. They should be good to go. We actually really enjoyed these. They were very great with hummus, and my son has really been liking them. So these were definitely a hit in our house and we really enjoyed them. So for this next recipe, I made some apple cinnamon muffins that were super delicious. So I'm just starting off by getting all of my dry ingredients mixed up. So I'm using about 1.5 cups of regular all-purpose flour, and then I'm also sneaking in 1 cup of wheat flour. I always like to do a combination just to make it a little bit healthier where I can. And then for the sugar in this recipe, you're going to need about 3/4 cup of sugar, and that was actually half of what the recipe called for, but again, I just wanted to make it a little bit healthier. And then you're also going to need 4 teaspoons of baking powder. For the salt, you're going to need about 1/2 teaspoon, and you're just going to add in a little bit of cinnamon to taste. This was not in the recipe, but that was just my preference. I wanted a little extra cinnamon there. And then I'm just getting all of this mixed together. You're also going to add in about 2 eggs along with 1 cup of milk. I just used regular 2% milk. And then you're also going to need about 2/3 cup of oil. I just used vegetable oil. Add in your vanilla extract. I did probably a couple teaspoons, and then I'm just getting all of this mixed together. One thing that's important to note with muffins is that you don't want to over mix it. It just does not work well when you are making muffins. So just mix it until it is all combined. And now it is time to add in our apples. So I'm adding in 4 apples here. I have them peeled and chopped up. Mine were just Fuji. It's just what I had on hand. Go ahead and use whatever you want. I'm sure Granny Smith would be a good variation, or just use whatever you already have in the house. No need to run out to the store for these ones. Any kind is going to work just fine. Get those mixed into the batter, and then you're going to be ready to get these into the oven. So I have my muffin tins here. I was able to make about 1.5 dozen for this recipe. So I'm just spraying my baking tins with some oil, and then I'm just spooning my batter right into there. I was able to fill these up pretty full. If you want to do smaller muffins, go ahead and do that, but I wanted these to be pretty good size. So I would say I filled them up almost to the top, between 3/4 and all the way up to the top. I did not have any issues with them overflowing or anything, but that is about how full I did mine. These muffins are going to get baked in a 350-degree oven for right around 20 minutes. You just want to bake them until they're a little bit golden brown on top, and a toothpick inserted in the center comes out completely clean. Mine took probably around 22 minutes, but go ahead and start them at 20 minutes and see how yours are looking. So instead of doing a crumble topping on this like the recipe actually called for, I just decided to do a cinnamon and sugar mixture. You can definitely try out the crumble topping. Like I said, I will have the full recipe linked down below for you guys, but I actually really liked the cinnamon and sugar on top, and it was just super simple and easy to do. So once they came out of the oven and they were still warm, I just went ahead and dipped the tops of them right into the cinnamon and sugar mixture. It just seemed a little bit easier to me than doing the crumb topping. I was dealing with my kids, they were being crazy, and I just did not have time to do the crumble topping. So I thought this would be something a little bit fun and a little bit different. Or you could just leave these completely plain and they honestly would be super delicious. These did not lack any flavor. And like I said, I did do half of the sugar that the recipe called for, and they were still super sweet and delicious. So I definitely think you guys would like these. This would be a great snack to send with your kids to school. You can make them ahead of time, and these should also freeze really, really well. We ate them all within the first couple of days, but I definitely think these would be very freezer friendly, which you guys know I'm all about freezer meals. So these would be a great back to school snack idea. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Hit that little subscribe button for more videos in this back to school series. Next week we are tackling lunch ideas, so definitely make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss out on those. And don't forget to head down into my description box. Check out the other ladies in this club. They are awesome. I know you're going to love all of their channels, so definitely head over there. But that is going to be it for today's video. I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care.